the inextinguishable light. And I'm reading from John 8, verse 12. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." A few weeks ago was my grandson's birthday. He just turned 4. Because of the quarantine, he didn't have a party. But a year ago, pre-pandemic, when we could still invite people and as we celebrated his birthday, I remember the look in his eyes, the joyful crowd of friends and family singing the birthday song, and then the big moment. A big inhale, and with eyes closed, blew the candle out. But it didn't go off. And a big inhale once more, and then the blowing of the candle once more. And it still did not go off. It was a magic candle, and my grandson's eyes lit up with delight. Isn't that great? For many of us, we never want the light of a candle to go off. In John 8, verse 12, Jesus spoke about the light, his light, that will never bring darkness to your life. He said, "Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of light." I am the light of the world. This is another of Jesus' I am statements. He proclaimed in the past that he was the bread of life. I am the bread of life. I am the gate. I am the good shepherd. I am the true vine. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the truth and the life. But I am the light of the world is one of my favorite pictures of Jesus. For the Israelites, celebrating the Feast of the Tabernacles was intended to remind them of the time their forefathers spent in the wilderness. During the feast, a ceremony took place each evening in the temple courts, and 2 menorahs, or giant candelabra, were lighted and they lit up the whole temple court. It is in reference to this that Jesus declares, "I am the light of the world." Now, when Jesus uttered these words, he didn't mean he was the light of just Israel, but of the whole world. And not to just Israelites, but to the whole world, including Gentiles, including you and me. He said, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me, not just learns about me, will have light in his pathway." Now, isn't that true that there is nothing we need more in this world today than light on our paths? The world is in chaos. The world is upside down. Standards have no definite lines. They are defined by broken lines. They are gray, no longer black as against white. There are no more borders when it comes to values. People can come and go, do what they like, do as they please. In the local idiomatic phrase, they say "maskipaps" or "do what you want." People are confused, angry, and in constant turmoil. Mankind, all throughout history, has experienced some form of darkness in their lives, be it darkness in knowledge, in wisdom, discernment, spiritual enlightenment, life, and true living. As Jesus says in the later chapter, John 12:35, "He that walks in darkness does not know where he is going." They have no idea of what lies ahead. They run straight into disasters and they can't even see it coming. I think of some of the great men of the Bible and in history, and stories of the dark side of their lives. At some point in their lives, God's light opened their eyes and illumined their paths and changed them to be his godly servants. One of them was Moses. Moses, when he was about 40 years old, murdered an Egyptian man, thinking that he was doing his share in delivering his people from the Egyptians. And then there was David, who engineered the death of his mistress's husband. And Paul, who as a renowned Pharisee persecuted Christ's early followers. Then there was John Newton, who lived a life of utter disregard for God and became involved in the African slave trade for more than 10 years. And Clive Staples Lewis, otherwise known as C.S. Lewis, a brilliant, confident atheist who hurled his anger of the world at God, whom he believed no longer existed. These were the dark sides of these men. But Jesus said, "Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." And these men followed God's light, allowed God's light to shine on them. And they followed the light, and they had life. There was one woman whose life will continue to touch me and many more. Her name was Fanny J. Crosby. She was born of humble parents, and she was a woman of prayer. She lived in a world of darkness beginning at age 6 weeks. Due to improper medical treatment, she was rendered blind the rest of her life. When she was in her early 40s, she began to write gospel song lyrics. She never wrote a text without first kneeling in prayer and asking for divine guidance. And it was said of her, she became the happiest creature in all the land. One of my favorite of the hymns that she wrote was "All the Way My Savior Leads Me." In the darkness of her world, she wrote, now, if I could sing, I would sing this for you, but I don't, so I will read the first stanza. And she wrote, "All the way my Savior leads me, what have I to ask beside? Can I doubt his tender mercy, who through life has been my guide? Heavenly peace, divinest comfort, here by faith in him to dwell, for I know whatever befall me, Jesus doeth all things well. For I know whatever befall me, Jesus doeth all things well." To follow Christ means to believe on him and to trust him as we do a guide, to go through the paths that are rough and dimly lit, and some are thorny and risky. Trusting him means you trust him for everything, even the direst of circumstances. There are those who don't know about the light of Jesus. They never imagined there would be this light that would give more meaning to life, a purpose, a direction. As we celebrate Missions Month, we, together with the Missions and Benevolence Committee, honor those who make it their goal to bring this light of Jesus into the hinterlands and in communities that still rely on light that extinguishes and creates darkness over and over again. We appreciate the Christian organizations whom we partner with, who work with the orphans, the street children, the confined or the imprisoned, the tribal folk, the disabled, among many others. We support, through scholarship, those in theological institutions and schools, those who obey Jesus' mandate to go into the world and proclaim God's message of love and redemption. The people they serve are people who need to hear Jesus' words, because it is he who knows life, he who understands it, he who explains it and gives clarity to the meaning of life. It is he who can help distinguish between that which is true and that which is false, that which is death and that which is life. And I pray that as you respond to Jesus' light, and as you radiate his light unto others, that your eyes and their eyes would be filled with a childlike delight and joy, knowing that his light will be inextinguishable and it will never, never die. Amen.